Hey everybody, this is Heartless Spartan here with another 1/6 scale Toy Talk review. Today I have the threezero 1/6 scale G.I. Joe Storm Shadow action figure. Now this one is the earlier, more ninja style version of Storm Shadow. There is the Commando version that came out a bit later. I don't have that one, but I feel that I might want to pick that one up at some point in the near future. I may sound a bit off during this review because I'm still ill, and it hasn't gotten much better as I record my videos for the week. Without further delay, let's get into the review. Alright, let's take a look at Storm Shadow here. Very cool character art on the outside of our box. Have our threezero sticker. Oh, that's cool, that like gas mask on there. Cobra emblem. Very nice figure sneak peeks on the back there. That information. Character portrait on the one side. Nothing special on the bottom. As usual, we have our Velcroed cover for our window box. Got a pretty good look at this figure through here. Last time Snake Eyes, because of his outfit, it was really hard to see him. We can get a good view of Storm Shadow here through the window box, which is pretty cool. I like that classic design too. I really like that they do that. Then we have our Cobra emblem here. Looks pretty cool. Let's go ahead and get him out. And I can show at least what he looks like as is just in the package before I take him out. So there's that, and then there's this back part holding his bow and his swords. Not sure if they're katana or not. And a little info slip. Then I'm going to take this out and get started taking a look at the details. Okay, so here we have Storm Shadow right out of the box with all of his accessories out of the box as well. We're actually going to take a look at our figure first. Let me adjust my lights a little bit here. Alright. Yeah, so this hood on the top is actually cloth, but it has a little wire going around the outside of it here. So that is kind of malleable and posable to an extent. But it is just kind of like a hood to go over the top of his head. But that can be brought down. And then his mask, there's not like a separate head sculpt, so we don't get to see his face or anything. It's sculpted onto the head. Very cool details on the eyes, though. That is cool. I like that. They did a very good job with that. And then I like the kind of dirt and the detailing that they put over his mask. That like he's been on missions and stuff, so his mask is getting just a little bit dirty. That it's not like super clean and white. I like that they did that. Like he's been in battle a little bit. So let's actually put his hood back up for right now. I'm kind of glad that they put the wire in. That way, like, the hood doesn't do anything weird. Like, it ends up super pointy on the top, like an elf or something. Oh, this piece of fabric around the neck. It's very soft. It's plain white, and then it goes down kind of underneath his vest. And then the vest is kind of like this malleable rubber, but it's very well sculpted with lots of like little detailing. Like we can actually see like a fabric pattern there, but it's all that kind of malleable rubber. But again, I really like the sort of wash that they put over this to make it look a little bit dirty. Over Cobra emblem there. Pretty sure this is all one piece too. He's got ratcheting arms. So let's take a look at that. Looks pretty cool. Then he has these sort of cloth bracers that he's got on here. Well, they're not made of cloth. They're, again, like another kind of like malleable rubber, like his vest is. Hopefully they won't give me too much trouble when swapping out hand sculpts, but they look like they go on pretty far. So I don't think it'll give us too much trouble with the hand sculpts. And then the gloves are just the sculpted hands that are painted. And I do believe it's the same on the other side. Yep. Let's take a look at his belt. So his belt... Oh. Okay, yeah, his belt is a separate piece. There's lots of pouches. They don't open or anything, but they look cool. And this is attached to this little plate on the front here. And then these right here, they have little holes in them. Those are for the Nunchaku. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Then we have some more pouches going around. Not really anything stored on the back. It just looks like he's got some equipment on him. Not as much as Snake Eyes did, but I think Storm Shadow's just a little bit more minimal. Plus he comes with the bow. On this figure, I noticed the arms ratchet, but his arms are also like this flexible rubber with this really cool skin tone and detailing on there. Like we can see a little bit of like vein and like muscle, which is really cool. I kind of like that they did that, though over time the fear here might be dry rot over time. So we might have some longevity issues with this kind of material in the future, that over time this might just kind of weaken and start to split apart. So that's, even though it looks really great right now, that's something that might happen later down the line. But I mean, that looks really good. And it's sort of okay, one problem with that material though, yeah, see how it bends and folds? I kind of don't like that. I think even though it looks great, I think I much rather would have had like the regular joint there with the plastic arm. And then I think the problem they might have been facing was then the shoulder joint that they couldn't really hide given his costume. But I think sometimes we do just have to deal with the fact that it's still an action figure and those joints are going to be visible if we want those things to kind of last, or even just deal with the fact that sometimes we need an extra piece of clothing or cloth or something that might not be super costume accurate to the character, but at least it hides that joint. So maybe like an extra shoulder pad or piece of cloth that could have come over and hidden that joint on the plastic arm. Probably could have gotten away with that. Because that honestly worries me. Alright. His pants, if you zoom out here, are fairly plain. Storm Shadow seems to be a little bit more minimalist than some of our other characters. The material actually feels fairly rugged compared to, I think, whatever Snake Eyes had on him. So not too bad. Decent sewing pattern in it. And it's not pure white. There is a little bit to it that kind of makes it just look a little bit off-white and just slightly dirty to kind of go with that kind of battle-worn look that they've got on the rest of his costume. Then he has some more like rubber sculpted leggings here. And then his shoes are his feet. They're not like separate parts, but those actually look kind of cool. Now, if we... Oh, it's on the bottom. Yeah, the Hasbro and threezero logos. All right. Now, if we take a look at the articulation, I mean the head, we get great articulation in that, up and down, left, right, and then kind of like that ball rotation. And he can kind of bob a little bit. Not too much, though. But there is some of that articulation there. His arms are ratcheted. They will rotate. Be careful when twisting this. I can hear it and feel it rubbing up against like rubber on rubber. So that might scrape some of the paint or whatever on there and just kind of wear that down a little bit over time. So just be aware of that. Now the elbows, they do bend, but if you try to bend them far inward, because it's the rubber and it folds, if I bend that inward, it folds it. You don't really want to crease that, and then it just kind of unbends itself. Like it just kind of pops back out because there's that resistance in the inside of the elbow there. And then our wrists. If I can avoid breaking a wrist this time. Let me try turning that. There we go. Our ball jointed wrists. And then it should ideally be the same thing on the other side as well. Yeah, it just kind of pops back out on its own because of that rubber. I mean, it looks great, but I do worry about that. And same with the wrist here. How about the waist? Do we get... there's not really... Like, the joint might be there, but because of this rubber vest, he does not really pose at the waist very much at all. His legs... Let's see what we can get. Okay. We can probably get him doing the splits if we really wanted to. Let's see how far back. And then the feet are ball jointed, so we get some good range of motion there, as well as the legs. And he doesn't have like any belts or anything inhibiting his movement on the legs, so we can get some pretty extreme poses on the legs if we really want to. But then because of the way they made the arms on this one, the arms are going to be the limitation as well as the waist when it comes to articulation. Now, let's take a look at his accessories. Let's look at this first, actually. So here we have this scabbard. Looks like for his katana and maybe his bow. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a scabbard for his katanas, and the quiver for his arrows for his bow. So then, it's made out of a pretty hard plastic. You still want to be a little bit careful with that. And then the belt is just a rubber. So to put this on, we're supposed to pop his head off, which is done quite easily. Thread that over the arm, and over the shoulder, and then pop his head. There we go. So I had to take a pair of pliers, like needle nose pliers, and pop this piece out of his head in order to push it into there, because just doing it with the head just kind of pushed that neck joint around on the inside, and I wasn't able to get it to pop on. So now hopefully the head will pop. There we go. Pop on nice and easy. Alright, that's why it helps to have the right tools. So other than the head sculpt, it was actually quite easy to get the scabbard on. I just had to manipulate that head sculpt a little bit. So to pop that out, I used these to grip it. You just got to be careful because this is a lot harder and sharper than the soft plastic of that joint. So you got to be careful not to tear it up if you're going to do that. All right. So he's got his scabbard and quiver on. Let's take a look at those accessories. So let's actually take a look at his katana. I'm going to have to set him down. Yeah. Okay. So it has a nice painted shine to it. It is a plastic, and it is just a little bit thin. So you want to be careful about trying not to break those. Gets a nice shine to it. It's not really sharp, but it does have like a beveled edge. So just be careful not to poke yourself with that. Little diamond design to kind of mimic that wrapping around the handles. And the other one is exactly the same. Nothing on the pommel. Now these, even in the little instructions I'll show in a little bit, say to just kind of put it with the bevel going down. Snake Eyes was really easy, but I don't know, would this one fit in better? What about the other way? Well, I thought it was supposed to be down like this, but it slides in like that. That would be the bevel going up. Because it won't let me put it in that way. Huh, I wonder if the directions are kind of backwards. Alright, I'll have to take a look at those again. Alright, next. Comes with this actually really nice bow. I only just now noticed the grip and everything that's on this, and even has like the sight and the little loading dock here. What is this, like a tension knob? Now it is plastic. It's a little bit flexible, but again, you don't want to mess with that too much, otherwise you might risk snapping it. And then the string is a little slightly flexible as well. Hopefully nobody has any issues with theirs where like the ends come untied, because I don't want to think about having to retie that. That would be such a pain. Now let's see. We'll take a look at the hands in a little bit. Okay, so this, yeah, he comes with arrow holding hands. But then is this our one for the bow? Yep. There we go. Alright, so he'll actually grip that fairly well. We'll have to see how we can get that in his hands later. So I'll set that off to the side for right now. Now he comes with, let's see, how many arrows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arrows. Which they want to fall out of my hands right now. Now these are just very thin plastic molded arrows. Have a little bit of detailing to look like they have feathers there. Or fletching, I think it's called. And then some very dangerously tipped arrowheads on there. Yeah, that is not... Like, I don't mean like the toy is dangerous. I just mean that style of arrow tip on there. Man, that'll do some damage. All right. So these, I'll put most of them in. Oops. Slide in between here. And these actually go in nice and easy. 4. I can see why they only gave us like 5 or not 5, but like 6 of these. Because you can really only fit a handful of them into the quiver. Yeah, I think that's about as many as I'm really going to fit in there. I don't really want to try to fit the last one in. There might be a better way of doing that, but I don't want to spend much time on the video doing that. The last arrow I am going to show that is fingers on this hand. Actually, let us put the arrow in like that. And then we could probably even fit the drawstring behind his fingers as well, which is pretty nice. Now we can take a look at his nunchaku. The chain in between does... Yep, it's a metal. But then the rest is all plastic. Like, that's a painted plastic. Has a little bit of riveting detail on there. And the handles are just like a plain black with just a slight design there for a grip. But I do like that they're made independent and that they actually gave us like a little chain instead of like a piece of rubber or like something that's just like molded like this, to where if you stuck it in their hands like a Ninja Turtle action figure, it just kind of sticks out, kind of weird. It looks a little funny, so I'm really glad that they gave us a nice pair of nunchaku. Then these can slide nicely into his belt here. Like that. There we go. Now, his other accessories include additional left and right hands besides his like palm hands that he's wearing or that he has on. So we get those left and right bow hands, one for holding and or knocking the bow, and the other one for holding the bow. We get a pair of weapon holding hands, should be very good for his katanas. Let's actually see how one of those might fit. Actually seems like it's going to be a tight fit. Yeah, he grips those extremely well. That is not really going to be sliding up and down in there. Just be careful when pulling it out. You don't want to accidentally break your katana. So we get left and right weapon holding hands. Flip it the other way. Then we get left and right fists. And if I want to swap these out, let's see if this will be nice and easy for me. Alright, so that came off easy. And popped on nice and easy. And I didn't break it this time. And speaking of wrist pegs, I love it that threezero includes these. We get 4 additional wrist pegs. This is what they look like. So this part goes into the hand, this part goes into the wrist. And that is what gives us that articulation. And I greatly appreciate that they include these in their sets. Then lastly, we've got a couple of instruction sheets. Yeah, see here it's telling me blade down, but I had to flip it upwards. in order to get them in. Oh yeah, here it's like, oh yeah, 4 arrows. You can only put 4 arrows in. I don't know. I kind of jammed 5 of them in there. And his nunchucks go in his belt. And those instructions on the head sculpt. Yeah, see, it wasn't really meant to pull it out of the neck, but the little joint came with the head when I popped it off. So I had to pull the neck joint out of the head and then pop it in there on its own and then put the head back on. And then we get a little warranty sheet. All right. Very cool figure. Let's move into a montage. This Storm Shadow figure has an excellent look to it. The materials are well made, well sculpted, and well painted. I like that they did a little bit of wash over everything to make it look just a little bit dirty instead of having a pure white outfit that stuck out. That gave it some realism. The weapons are very cool with a great variety. Just be careful with the bow and katana, they can snap easily. I will say that it is difficult to pose the bow with him knocking an arrow, along with the resistance from the rubber arms pushing out against articulation. The only issue I have with this figure are the rubber arms. They look very detailed and hide the joints, however these may fold and crease over time, and have the potential to dry rot and split, which becomes a longevity concern as well. Maybe they could have used plastic arms and hide the joints with some white cloth fabric. Storm Shadow was the first figure I've gotten from threezero that I could see part of a detailed face, and the eyes and skin tone detailing looked great. I also appreciated the metal chain on the Nunchaku. While the articulation is limited by the rubber arms and vest, it still has a good movement in the wrists and legs. This is another great figure from threezero, but I do have more concerns and drawbacks when it comes to longevity and the trade-off between how it looks versus how it functions as an action figure. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Do you tend to purchase multiple variants of the same characters like Commando Storm Shadow? This has been Heartless Spartan. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.